Here I am again. The beginning of another new Trecena. The beginning of the Trecena of Noch. And Noch is all about new ideas, new ways of approaching things, new ways of solving problems. So this is what we can expect to come to us in the next 13 days or so. If we've got something we're just not being able to figure out, it may well be that the Trecena of Noch is when it falls into place. It's when that idea comes together and suddenly we get the aha moment that takes us forward in our lives. Now, Noch, we call the Nawal of the brain. It's a Nawal meaning thought. And so obviously this is going to be about ideas and problem solving. But there are certain other places, for example in the Yucatan, the same glyph is called Caban, which is the earth or earthquake. And it can also be translated as incense. And what we see here is the kind of like the incense stretching up to the sky, the idea that the inspiration comes from the sky. And also with the earth, it's like this earthquake feeling of like sudden realization that comes in. So maybe that even you weren't necessarily thinking about how you could solve the problem, it just comes to you in a flash, divinely inspired, a way of solving the problems in your life, life of your family, perhaps the life of your community. So we're expecting inspiration to come. We're expecting a flash. The light bulb comes on and suddenly we get the idea about which way we're supposed to be going and how we're supposed to be handling something. So it's a really quite rather pleasant Trecena for sorting out situations, for sorting out problems, for coming to ideas and the way to employ them, because Noch we call the intellectual genius. Noch has that kind of quality about it. And so these are really ideas which can be put into practice. This is one of the great things about Noch. Whilst it has these like genius ideas, they're also ideas that are very, very rational and down to earth and can be put into practice. Now, we may also find ourselves during that time, sometimes we might be overthinking things. So it's kind of like, look out for your inspiration, see where it's coming from, and then don't spend too long thinking about it. It's kind of like, right, okay, if you've got the inspiration come through, maybe it's time to employ it, rather than sit and try and work out all the eventualities, because this is kind of like one of the other sides of Noch, thinking about every eventuality and how that might possibly unfold and how it might possibly play out. Sometimes Noch can leave us a bit stuck in our heads rather than acting on what we've received. So, new idea, fresh idea, something which is going to help to solve the problems. This is what we could expect to come in. Now, within the Trecena of Noch, we see the day Forach Pu, and Forach Pu is a very, very important day. It's a day of creation. It's a day that follows on. We've just been through the Trecena of Cat. During the Trecena of Cat, I explained in the last Trecena video how we started off in 13 Achabal, the day before the Trecena of Cat started. We go through the gestation of Washikib Bats. Then we get delivered into 3 Kawok during this Trecena. The very next day is Forach Pu. Forach Pu is seen as a creation day. In the Stella at Krigwa, where we see Forach Pu mentioned as the first day of the time, the first day of the fourth world. On 21st December 2012, when we turned over the Baktun, we also saw Forach Pu as a creation day. So I'll get to Forach Pu in a little while, but this is about the creation of the new world. So we have all that taking place during the Trecena of Noch. So for this reason, I think it's kind of an exciting time. So what we start off with, one Noch, one novelty, birth, new things coming in, Noch, new ideas. So this is all about a day to gain your new ideas. So if you're looking for a solution, one Noch is a great day to be looking in a fresh direction for it. It's about coming up with a wholly new idea. Now that idea might need some encouragement because the one is still just a seed and this sort of thing. Maybe that will come around on 20 days time when we go to the 8 Noch day. But this is a time for planting of new seeds of ideas, perhaps. You know, just start to think about things, get some inspiration come through and develop that idea over the next 20 days. After 1 Noch, we go into 2 Tihash. Now 2 Tihash can be a very, very divisive day. Might not be, might be healing as well, because Tihash is the Nawal of the healer. It's the Nawal of the obsidian blade, and that obsidian blade is used to cut. Tihash is known for its discernment. 2 is known for its polarity, for its duality. So what we see is really kind of like the division between dark and light, between yes and no, between true and false. 2 Tihash might bring that into very, very sharp focus. Now 2 can also be related to relationships. So Tihash might give a very strong perception, a strong discernment within relationships. It may bring healing through relationship, because healing is this element of Tihash, which is the ultimate element. But as we see, kind of like with the number 2, we see things kind of like, we see duality, we see Tihash being cutting, and so this is also kind of like a time of release, and releasing the, kind of like what doesn't serve you. That's what we always have with Tihash. But here it could be focused on relationships, and here it's really talking about duality. So it's kind of like seeing through the duality. We then go into 3 Kawok. So 3 Kawok, if 4 Achpu is the day of creation, 3 Achpu is the midwife that births it through. 3 Achpu could almost be seen as the destruction. So when we think about the Ishel talk, tipping over the water jar and washing away the old world, that could have happened on 3 Kawok before we go into the new world on 4 Achpu. So I talked about 2 Tihash, about cutting away the duality, about cutting away what doesn't serve. Well, 3 Kawok then comes along to wash that away. It's a washing away of the old world in order for the birth of the new world to take place. Now, that's not to say that it's necessarily going to be easy. Birth is not necessarily the easiest of processes. It doesn't necessarily be the most pain-free of processes. But 3 Kawok is really about washing away that stuff that doesn't serve anymore in order to allow the new stuff to come in. We then go into the 4 Achpu. So we have Achpu representing divinity, representing the divine, representing the Son, the Lord. And we have the number 4 representing the physical plane. So what we see is the physical incarnation of the divine into the material plane. So this is perhaps why we could associate it with the day of creation of the world. This is about breathing the divine breath in a very, very physical way into this material plane. So this is, a really rather interesting day to begin. In some ways, might consider it to be one of the most interesting day of the Trecena. And if you've got something divine that you want to create into this world, if you're looking to create something physical in this world, then 4 Achpu for me is a great day to actually be doing that work, to get the divine inspiration powered by that new idea that comes in through the Trecena of Noch. Well, here it's like fully rooted into the Trecena. We then go into 5 Imosh. So Imosh is the Nawal of the lake, it's the Nawal of the dream world, it's the Nawal of the seas and the oceans in our collective consciousness. And the number 5, that's the one hand, it represents work. So this could be seen as kind of like putting the energy in to make your dreams happen. Making the manifestation. Here we've got the 4 Achpu acting as this solid grounding that we're building on, the divine coming into earth. Well, 5 Imosh is then saying, right, okay, you've got that connection, let's work on it a bit, let's put some energy into your dreams. You've got your nice stable foundation that you've just got, this new world that you've created from 4 Achpu. How are you going to build your dream? How are you going to bring it in? What energy are you going to put into it? So this is one of the things that we could see happening on the 5 Imosh day. It's about putting your work, putting your energy into manifesting your dreams. Perhaps again, using the new idea that you got from one noch, using the kind of like idea, the way that all of a sudden things start to fall into place, and you get the direction of how to make that dream manifest into this new world that you're creating. On 6 Ich, well, then we see something different coming in again. Ich being the wind, Ich being the divine breath. And here we have it connected with the number 6. So the number 6, like I say, it represents the physical plane, but with the connection to the heart of the sky and the heart of the earth coming through to it. So it's connection to the divine masculine and the divine feminine coming through. Now, what a wonderful day to have combined with Ich. Because Ich can sometimes be a bit too strong, Ich can be a little bit unpredictable, it's about changes, it's about the divine breath and the divine breath that brings life. And here we have that life and those changes inspired from our connection to above and below, inspired from our connection to the heart of the sky and the heart of the earth, and able to draw on both the divine masculine and the divine feminine to bring that into this world and move it out into this plane. So it's kind of like connecting up there and down there in order to get the communication, in order to get the divine breath to come through, in order to bring that out into the world. Could be a great day for inspiring communication, could be a great day for settled changes, because the number 6 can also represent family, and it can represent the number of ultimate stability. And so we see as stability brings stability to changes. Maybe there's been some changes going on in your family. Maybe this is kind of like a day to use your words in order to stabilize that and bring stability to your family. We then move into 7 Akhabal. So the number 7 represents endings. The number 7 can represent the top of the pyramid. You know, it's like we get to the top of the pyramid, we've finished our journey. Okay? And Akhabal represents the new beginnings. It represents the dawn. It represents that moment just before dawn, just before sunrise. It's the moment of conception. So Akhabal can again represent the new concepts that we bring through from the dream world. Now, 20 days before that, we had 13 Akhabal. The concept that came through from the spirit world. Here we have 7 Akhabal. And so it's kind of like, right, okay, the work is done. The concept is done. The concept is complete. And again, I said, the one Noch brings us a solution to the problem, the solution, the finished idea, or the beginning of a new idea, rather. Here we have 13 Akhabal, the end of the concept. So the end of the concept is something that we can understand when that concept has then been turned into an idea, when it's been taken through. So, 7 Akhabal, if we considered Akhabal to be the twilight, well, 7 Akhabal might represent the first ray of sun that comes through. Because we've been waiting for the dawn to happen, we've been waiting for the sunrise to happen, we've been going through the dawning process, and suddenly the light comes. The dawning process. If we took it as like the light in the sky, we've been waiting for sunrise, first ray of light comes through, that's the end of the Akhabal period and the beginning of the new day. And that's what the 7 can represent. So it's kind of like the completion of a concept. It's like a whole concept that's come, and this is something which might be coming in as our new idea. After 7 Akhabal, we're then going to go into 8 Cat. So again, this is representing the 1 and the 7 together. It's representing that wholeness. 8 Cat will be a good day to be making a ceremony, which will be about the harvest. It will be a good day to be making a ceremony which represents the planting and the gathering, the catching and the releasing, the beginning and the end of Cat, the 1 and the 7 together. So 8 Cat is a day on which we give thanks for what's filled our net. It's a day on which we give thanks for the physical abundance with which we've been blessed in our lives. It's a day that we give thanks for our liberty in particular, okay, the wholeness of our liberty. After 8 Cat, we then go into 9 Can. So Can, the serpent, the energy that runs through us, the lightning in our blood, the energy that gives us our ability to do whatever shamanic discipline we might have, whether it might be divination or healing, any of those kind of arts. There's also our life force energy, and the life force that runs through us that brings us our wisdom, And so Can is all about wisdom too. So as we go through this, we're giving thanks for our wisdom. Now, on a Can day, we can expect to kind of like receive wisdom. Sometimes we're going to see through things, because Can is also like the revelation. It's the wisdom that comes through us that allows us to see through manipulations. It can be those things as well, because Can also represent the dark side of that energy. It can represent being manipulated. It can represent the seduction that we like sometimes fall into in one way or another. Here we see it connected with the number 9, and the number 9 represents the divine feminine, and it can represent life itself. So what we have here is the wisdom that may come from the feminine aspect. It may be a great day to consult women and ask for their wisdom to guide us through life. This is also a day when we can expect to connect ourselves with life's wisdom. It's what comes to us through the use of our energy. Okay, so again, this is using our wisdom, using the advice from wise women in particular, in order to see through any manipulations that we may have been succumbed to. After this, we go into 10 Kame. Kame represents spiritual transformation. This spiritual transformation, this death process that we go through, we're going through every 20 days. Every 20 days we can go through this cycle of renewal. Every 260 days we go through 10 Kame. As we go through our life, we grow, we transform. And here we see that transformation related to the 10, the joining of hands, the community, the society. So this is a day about transformation of society. This is a day when we may face some fears within our society. May face things that frighten us to death, because that's really what Kame is all about. But that's all about that process. It's about going through that. It's about moving through the things that frighten us in order to engage with our higher selves, in order to move forward, in order to evolve. And here 10 Kame is really about looking at those fears, embracing them, and moving forward. Okay, so it may be an idea on the 10 Kame day to be connecting with your community, asking for help, asking for guidance in one way or another from people within your community, from your friends and your family, to help yourself overcome the things that you fear. And it may be a day also to stretch out your hands and help those people around you get over their fears, so that we can all grow together, so that we can all evolve together, so that we can evolve our community. After 10 Kame comes 11 Ker. Okay, so this could have the potential to be a really wild day. Ker is the Nawal of the natural world. It's the Nawal of all of this greenness, of the trees, of the mountains. And that's where we get our wisdom from. It's also connected with the spirit of the deer, or the spirit of the horse. And this is wild and free. It roams these mountains. It's the spirit of these mountains. It's where we get some of our understanding, some of our knowledge from. Now, the number 11 has a lot of energy behind it, has a lot of creativity behind it. It also has, it doesn't always have the best understanding of direction, let's say. It can change direction very rapidly. And this is it's a great thing, but we don't know which way it's going to go next. Now, with all the strength and power of Ker and all the strength and power of 11, this can lead to some really quick changes in direction. And sometimes I'll call the 11 Ker like the stampede. Ker is already known for going for what it wants. It can be very determined. It can be moving very, very straight. And you don't get in the way of Ker. When Ker has made up its mind where it's going, you just get out of the way and let it run. Okay? Now, with that 11 behind it, this might be an unpredictable direction that it runs in. So it's kind of like a day on which rapid decisions might be made, a day on which a great determination might come in, and honestly, like, it's like, right, once that's it's in process, just get out of its way and let it happen. Because otherwise the stampede might come right over the top of you. After 11 Ker comes 12 Anil. Now 12 Anil can be another very, very strong day. Anil representing the abundance, the joy, the maturity, and 12 representing bringing it all together. So 12 is like all of life's experiences. And then what we see again, we're kind of like looking at bringing this idea into maturity in one way or another. The idea that started on 1 Noch. Well, 12 Anil is suggesting that we use our life experience in order to shine that golden light of maturing onto that idea, to bring it into its full abundant potential. 12 Anil can be a really, really sweet day. It's very strong, it's very abundant, it's very golden. Of course, the other side of Kanil is kind of like we might get a little bit carried away with it, but it should be a very, very joyful day. Then finally, we finish the Trecena on 13 Toch. I always look at it as Kanil gives and Toch receives. On Kanil we receive our abundance, on Toch we make our offerings, because Toch represents payment, it represents giving back. Toch represents the sacred fire itself, and so it's our opportunity to give back. The number 13 can represent the spirit world, and it represents the ancestors. And so, for everything that we've received through the Noch Trecena, we are then given 13 Toch as an opportunity to give back to the ancestors. Now, whether this is in the spirit world, whether this is about making a sacred fire, whether this is about connecting and giving back our new ideas to the ancestors, helping them to find their way, whether they're physical ancestors or whether we're talking about the spirit world, this is really a time to give back and give thanks to what we've received from the ancestral wisdom, what we've received from the ancestral world. So this is what wraps up the Noch Trecena. So once again, I hope that this has been enjoyable to you. I hope that you're enjoying following these videos that I'm making, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks' time.